Jaguar Cars Incorporated presents Performance, the Jaguar Heritage, Part 3. Today, the Jaguar technician is responsible for maintaining the proud Jaguar heritage, which, for the past 50 years, has meant performance to generations of motoring enthusiasts. His expertise will often be the key factor to ensuring a satisfied owner who will remain a loyal member of the Jaguar family. The previous two parts in the Performant series have described powertrains and associated systems and provided information for testing and evaluation. Part 3, the last in the current series, will cover basic settings and adjustments which affect performance. Engine, EFI, and transmission settings and adjustments will be illustrated for both the XJ6 and XJS. Only the key elements of each procedure will be illustrated. For complete details, follow the workshop manual instructions. We'll start with the XJ6 engine and EFI. Correct valve clearance and camshaft timing are basic essentials for good engine performance. A clearance of 12 to 14 thousandths should exist between the back of each camshaft lobe and the respective valve tappet. Record and identify each tappet in need of adjustment, then remove the camshafts. Be certain that the engine is rotated so that number 6 cylinder is at top dead center and that the valve timing gauge can be fitted to the slot in each camshaft. After disconnecting the drive sprockets, carefully remove each camshaft by progressively loosening the bearing cap nuts starting at the center and working outwards. Note the mating marks on each bearing cap and do not mix the bearing shells. These must be refitted to their original locations. Remove each tappet requiring adjustment, taking careful note as these too must be returned to their original location. Correct valve clearance is obtained by adjusting pads situated under the tappets. These are available in sizes ranging from 85 thousandths to 110 thousandths and are identified by letters of the alphabet. A represents 85 thousandths, continuing through to Z, representing 110 thousandths. Select the adjusting pad, which will increase or decrease the clearance as necessary to obtain 12 to 14 thousandths. For example, if a clearance of 8 thousandths was recorded and an S adjusting pad was fitted, an O pad is the correct replacement to obtain 12 thousandths clearance. After fitting all the correct size adjusting pads and respective tappets, reinstall the camshafts with the timing slots facing up and the number 6 cam lobes facing out. Before tightening the camshaft bearing caps, ensure that the number 6 cylinder is at top dead center. Caution: damage to the valve gear will occur if this is not observed. Progressively tighten the bearing caps, starting from the center and working outwards. Torque the nuts to 9 pound-feet. Accurate valve timing is obtained by positioning each camshaft with the timing gauge. First, place the gauge on the head surface as shown. Then, move the camshaft so that the gauge can be fitted in the slot when moved to vertical. Next, fit the chain sprockets onto the shoulders of the camshaft flanges. Tension the top chain using the tensioning tool. Turn the tool in a counterclockwise direction. Correct tension is obtained when slight flexibility remains in the chain on both outer sides of the camshaft sprockets. If necessary, the adjuster plates in the sprockets can be repositioned to align the bolt holes with the camshaft flange. Install the first bolt in a small shouldered hole. it must go completely home by using finger pressure only. The remaining bolts must also go completely home using only finger pressure. Realign the adjuster plate if this is not possible. The cylinder head installation procedure is straightforward, keeping in mind valve and camshaft timing, number 1 cylinder position, and the correct tightening sequence. Following the specified sequence, initially torque the large nuts to 50 to 52 pound-feet. Retorque to 52 to 54 pound-feet. The firing order is the customary 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, 4. However, note that number 1 cylinder is at the rear of the engine. A static ignition timing of 8 degrees before top dead center is specified for initial distributor installation. The EFI system, having few mechanical components, requires a minimum of basic adjustment. Only the throttle plate and throttle cable need setting. Adjust the throttle plate and cable together for best results. First, loosen the throttle cable at the abutment. Then, loosen the throttle stop lock nut and screw to ensure that the throttle plate closes fully. Remove any accumulated deposits from the valve area and insert a 2/1000ths feeler gauge between the throttle plate and the housing on the side marked with an X. With the feeler gauge in place, set the stop screw to just touch the stop arm and tighten the lock nut. Then remove the feeler gauge. Adjust the throttle cable to provide very slight tension on the inner cable, but not to move the throttle operating lever. Tighten the lock nuts when the adjustment is satisfactory. The pedal stop may require adjustment if full throttle cannot be obtained by depressing the accelerator. The EFI system is sealed to prevent adjustment. However, in the case of component replacement, basic idle setting is required. This procedure is detailed in the previous Performance Masters program entitled Performance Assurance. Correct transmission adjustment is essential for optimum vehicle performance. The kickdown cam is operated by the downshift cable. The cam can be adjusted after removing the oil pan and disconnecting the cable. Insert a 40/1000ths feeler gauge between the heel of the cam and the downshift valve. Loosen the cam bracket and adjust the assembly so that the valve just closes the rear port. After connecting the cable, reinstalling the pan, and topping up the fluid, check the transmission pressures using the adapter, hose, and gauge. With the engine at idle, drive selected, and the brakes applied, a pressure reading of 60 to 75 psi should be observed. Increasing the engine speed to 1200 RPM should produce a pressure buildup of 15 to 50 psi. Adjust the downshift cable as necessary to achieve readings which fall within these specifications. Periodically, the transmission brake bands should be adjusted. The front adjuster is located on the left side and is accessed through the opening in the transmission tunnel. The rear adjuster is located on the right side and is accessible from under the car. After loosening the lock nut, back off the adjuster approximately 3 turns. Using the torque wrench adapter, torque the adjuster to 5 pound-feet. Then, back off the adjuster 3/4 of a turn. Carefully tighten the lock nut while preventing movement of the adjuster. This procedure applies to both bands. Now, let's look at performance settings and adjustments which apply to the XJS. Valve clearance and adjustment is accomplished identical to the XJ6 with the following exceptions. XJS HE engines should have a valve tappet clearance of 10 to 12 thousandths. Early models specify 12 to 14 thousandths. The engine should be turned so that cylinder 1A is at top dead center and the timing tool can be fitted to both camshafts before removal. The timing chain has an automatic tensioner which must be released before the sprockets can be disconnected from the camshafts. Cylinder head installation again is a straightforward procedure, keeping in mind cylinder and camshaft positions. Torque the large nuts to 49 to 52 pound-feet and the small nuts to 27 to 28 pound-feet in the sequence shown. These figures apply to both UNF and metric hardware. Cylinder numbering employs an A, right side, and B, left side bank system, with number 1 at the front. Static ignition timing for distributor installation is 9 degrees before top dead center, plus or minus 1 degree. EFI basic mechanical settings are required for the throttle potentiometer, throttle plates, linkage, and cable. These are best adjusted in sequence as follows. Start with the throttle potentiometer, which is accessed by removing the mounting hardware and tilting the pedestal to one side. Loosen the securing screws so that the potentiometer can be rotated. Connect the Lucas throttle pot gauge and set the switch to T. Slowly rotate the potentiometer until the correct indicator lights up. Tighten the securing hardware in this position and reinstall the pedestal assembly. To adjust the throttle plates, disconnect the cross rods and loosen the stop screw at each throttle housing so that the plate fully closes. After cleaning any deposits from the throttle bores, insert a 2/1000 feeler gauge at the top of the throttle plate marked X and set the stop screw until it just contacts the stop arm. Lock the screw in this position and repeat for the opposite side. Next, adjust the linkage. Loosen each throttle shaft bell crank clamp. Hold the bell crank against the stop and the throttle plate in the closed position and tighten the bell crank clamp. Repeat for the opposite side. Ensure that the throttle pulley is resting on the closed stop. Slacken the cable if necessary. Adjust the cross rods to connect without any movement of the bell cranks or pulley. After connection, double check that both throttle arms are on the closed stops and both bell cranks are on their stops. Make further adjustments as necessary. Back off the full open stop screw on the throttle pulley, then hold the pulley to the full open position. Both throttle plate arms should now be resting on the throttle housing stop pads. Turn in the full open stop screw until it just contacts the pulley. Then tighten the lock nut. Recheck all screws and lock nuts and check for correct operation. At idle, both throttle plate arms should rest on the stop screws and both bell cranks should rest on their stops. At full throttle, both throttle plate arms should rest on the stop pads and the pulley should rest on the full throttle stop. Adjust the cable so that it has slight tension with no pulley movement. check for full throttle with the accelerator depressed and adjust the pedal stop as necessary. The EFI throttle switch should be adjusted so that the contact arm just touches the ramp on the pulley. As with the XJ6, the XJS has tamper-proof idle adjustments. In the case of component replacement, initial setting is required. Refer to the previous Performance Masters program entitled Performance Assurance for details. The GM400 transmission fitted to the XJS does not require any external adjustment. However, kickdown is electrically controlled and provision is made for pressure checks. Adjust the kickdown switch so that battery voltage is present on the green-white terminal at full throttle only. Transmission pressures correlated to engine manifold vacuum can be checked for verification purposes. The reference card chart lists the correct readings for various conditions. The procedures illustrated in this program will ensure correct basic settings and adjustments for performance-related components and systems. But also keep in mind the importance of regular maintenance and care and its effect on vehicle performance. A powerful engine and an efficient transmission cannot deliver the available performance unless every element in the drivetrain is in peak condition. This completes Performance, the Jaguar Heritage Part 3, another Performance Masters service training program.